In the 2019 Spanish film, The Platform, prisoners are held in a vertical tower, and a platform of food is lowered each day, and those on the upper levels get to eat first, and leave what is left, if any at all, for prisoners on the lower levels. At its core, the film is essentially a social and political commentary or critique of capitalism by director Galder Gazelu Urtia. So stay tuned and don't go away, because we're revealing ways to beat the platform, plus other related info. First up, how can you beat the platform? You're about to find out. One of the ways that you can beat the platform is to bring a weapon so that you can kill people to eat. If you have a partner who's willing to cooperate with you, they could even hold a ladder for you or help you kill a food source. But in Goreng's case, having a partner that he couldn't trust led to serious problems. But another solution is to simply ride the platform down to the pit, kill anything that moves, and then ride the platform back up again to try and kill your competition. Of course, there's another option available to beat the platform, and while it may seem obvious, pulling it off, however, is an entirely different story altogether. If you recall, at one point in the film, Goreng and other prisoners devise a plan to carefully ration the food given to them in equal portions, and try to get the others on board with their plan by any means necessary. In the end, though, their plan fails to work because there are just too many mouths to feed and too little food. So what is likely the best solution for beating the platform? The best solution for beating the platform can be summed up in one word: unity. Galvanizing the desperate prisoners on the lower levels is key here. Also, they would need to gather as many weapons as humanly possible. Once armed and united, the players could then ride the platform up to the top, storm, and secure the kitchen. Once they control the kitchen, they'd control their food source. This is by far the best way to beat the platform. Next up, at the end of the film, what was the significance of the pit and the child? Let's take a look. There are several metaphors in the film, the majority of which center around the pit. But mainly, the pit serves as a metaphorical criticism against capitalistic hierarchies that we see in modern-day society. You've probably seen similar caste systems in films such as Snowpiercer and The Hunger Games. The platform provides audiences with very clear parallels to the real world in thematic ways. For instance, from the start of the film, the rich are on the top floors, while the poor are on the lower levels. This is writer David Di Sola and writer Pedro Rivero's way of mocking the capitalist notion of the redistribution of wealth. In real life, anti-capitalist activists will often employ the phrase "eat the rich," but the script explores how the poor are forced to fight and even eat each other just to survive. For the prisoners, getting to the facility's higher levels seems like an impossible dream, and it's clear that those on the upper levels couldn't care less about the people on the lower levels. No one living on a higher level of the pit has compassion for those on the lower levels. They're selfish and have this air of entitlement and privilege about them. In the real world, billionaires have often said that if lower class people were given the chance, they would be just as greedy and corrupt as the upper classes. Excessive wealth isn't accumulated through generosity, it's accumulated at the expense of others. Goreng clearly wants the system to change. Up next, where does religion fit into the platform? Let's find out. There is a religious undertone throughout the platform. After all, another name for hell has, throughout history, often been the pit. The upper levels of the pit can be viewed as a metaphor for heaven, because things only get more savage and brutal as we go down each level. When Goreng meets Imogiri, played by actor Antonia San Juan, who used to work for the administration, Goreng thinks that there are only 200 levels, but in the end, we learn that there are actually 333 levels, exactly half of the number of the devil, 666. Level 0 is very much like heaven, the person preparing scrumptious food. Wanting to change the system, Goreng's initial attempt at fixing the pit's broken system are small steps taken with the help of Imogiri. After Imogiri fails to convince those on the level below to eat a set ration and prepare a set ration for those on the next level, Goreng has no choice but to intervene. He threatens to contaminate the food if they don't listen, forces the prisoners on the next level to comply. However, this does nothing to affect those on the upper levels, so it barely has an effect on the system as a whole. But Imogiri's death gave Goreng an opportunity to do something a little more dramatic. Goreng now shares a cell with Baharat, played by actor Emilio Buale, and quickly realizes that going up is not the answer. Goreng theorizes that they need to work together despite their differences and travel down instead. Goreng and Baharat board the platform, travel with the food, and force each level to take only their share, nothing more. They even decide to preserve one item of food in order to send a message to those preparing the meal. meals. Stay tuned and don't go away, because we're revealing everything there is to know about the platform. Next up, what happens when Goreng and Baharat finally reach level 333? You're about to find out. When Goreng and Baharat finally get down to level 333, they are shocked to find a young girl living alone. This is the child that Miharu had been looking for all along. We discover that the administration lied when they said no one under 16 lived in the pit. Goreng's discovery of the unnamed child confirms once and for all that the system is indeed broken. The child on level 333 represents innocence and hope for the future. The child also provides the perfect message for those on level 0 in the administration that something has to change. The point here is to hammer home the notion that children are typically the most damaged victims of class struggles. By the end of the film, Goreng resigns himself to his fate, and even though he retained more humanity than the others, he had to rely on some pretty extreme methods to survive his ordeal. He murders Trimagasi after he's rescued by Miharu, and for sustenance, he willingly eats human flesh. After Imogiri's suicide, Goreng even eats part of her in order to survive. He and Baharat kill a number of people on their journey down in order to enforce rationing rules and preserve their message. And it makes sense that he would trade places with the girl and allow her to go back up top. Goreng's name actually means to fry, and in the end, that's exactly what he does. He stays in the platform's version of hell and dies, bravely sacrificing himself for the collective. Up next, what does the platform's ending really mean? Let's take a look. Goreng's decision to disembark the platform is because of the apparition of Trimagasi. After killing Trimagasi, Goreng is haunted by him and also finds himself frequently haunted by Imogiri and Baharat after their deaths. This results in nightmares and macabre visions. All are representative of Goreng's growing mental demons. Despite trying to survive extraordinary circumstances, Goreng feels that he deserves to feel guilty. That's also why in the end, Goreng chooses to remain on the pit's lower levels and symbolically die with Trimagasi as the girl heads up toward the light. There's a lot of symbolism at play here. Goreng becomes a representation of the very system he wants to break and a symbol of an outdated system. Essentially, the exact opposite of everything the girl represents. The film ends on a tragic note, and all we are left with from Goreng's actions is hope. It's amazing what the film can teach us about capitalism, with only a table of food lowered down once every 24 hours to several people on numerous levels who only have 2 minutes to eat. And from the start of the film, the message is pretty simple. If 2 residents of every level only ate what they needed, there would probably be enough for everyone. However, greed and gluttony triumph over decency. Those at the top choose to leave those on the lower levels with either scraps or nothing at all. Finally, what happens to inmates once per month? Once per month, inmates are randomly switched levels so that those from below can rise above and turn the tables on those who previously let them starve. This does seem to restore some sense of balance and fairness. However, in real life, the wealthiest and the hungriest only very rarely switch places. So in a sense, believe it or not, the platform is even fairer than real life. What remains unclear though is why the administration started the project in the first place. There are many theories, but even as the film concludes, audiences are left in the dark and never given an explanation. That's a wrap for today's video. Thank you for watching.